The Acolyte is currently rumoured to be the first live-action show of 2024, but today we have something more concrete. During the run of Ahsoka's first season, there was a Redditor who was posting regular scoops week to week, plot details, episode titles, and more, and they all turned out to be accurate. They were right. And now they're back, and they posted what they believe to be the release window for The Acolyte. They said the following: Epic scoop. The Acolyte will start releasing episodes in late May or early June 2024. And this makes a lot of sense. It was always intended to be a summer release, and the Bad Batch finishes just before Star Wars Day, leaving May wide open for the start of the brand new live-action show. And if this is accurate, it means we should be getting our first trailer for The Acolyte sometime in April. Some are theorising even sooner. This is not a continuation of a pre-existing series, this is brand new, and so they might leave some extra time for marketing. The same was true of the Ahsoka show and the first season of Andor as well. And with this logic, the first teaser trailer could be imminent, within the next couple of months. It's kind of exhilarating going in blind. I'm excited to see how fans react. Just like Ahsoka said, I like firsts. Good or bad, they're always memorable. But something which isn't spoken about enough is the opportunity the show has to expand a time period which they've not really advertised as being part of the show. What am I talking about? Well, The Acolyte takes place during the High Republic, but it can also provide our first Disney canon understanding and look at the Old Republic. In Flashbacks, we've already heard through the grapevine there are going to be holocrons, references to Nihilus and Revan, and here's my logic. This is the first proper Sith-oriented show, and the Sith, much like the Jedi, had a sort of reverence for their ancient past. And in the same way there was a bit of interspersed history of the Mandalorians and the Jedi in both Mando and the Ahsoka series, I think it goes without saying they should be including some historic moments of Sith history. Something like the struggles of the Sith of the past, like the fall of the Sith Empire, could provide a sense of urgency to the Sith alive during this show, a motive to want to come back strong, duping the Jedi Order and infiltrating them. While Leslye Headland did tease The Acolyte kind of connects to the Phantom Menace, further down the line, they're connecting the events of this show to the prelude of Episode 1. I hope they similarly give us some Old Republic gems, even if it's the most brief offhand comments or mentions. In my opinion, the Dark Lords of the Sith that we see in this show need to give reverence to Darth Bane. The Sith that came after him followed a master and apprentice structure, the rule of two. This would guarantee, as we've seen with Darth Tenebrous, Plagueis, Palpatine, that when the apprentice is strong enough, he can kill his master, take their place, and take upon a new apprentice for themselves. Before the rule of two, there were thousands of Sith warriors and acolytes throughout the galaxy. They very often fought Jedi and even attacked the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. Amanda Stenberg's young Sith character could be taught this history from her master, the importance of the Sith plan, the conspiracy to once again rule the galaxy. We might see the workings of the Sith Empire of old, or at least a brief glimpse at some of the most evil and cunning Sith who ever lived. The Jedi games gave us some Zepho history. The Rise of Skywalker included Sith statues of Bane, Sion, and Revan. The Mandalorian mentioned the Mandalorian Wars, and we did get a brief bit of dark side history in both the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. But I think The Acolyte is the optimal place to expand this, and actually maybe show us our first canon on-screen live-action look at dark-side Force wielders who've been fan favourites for decades. And so now, my dear friends, moving on to our next Star Wars subject, a double whammy for the Kenobi show. I'm just gonna skim over the brief details of the first one because it's nothing new. Ewan McGregor once again talking about how, quote, hammered and panned episodes 1, 2 and 3 were. And on the subject of a second season of the Disney Plus show, he once again reiterates he knows nothing and doesn't think it's anything of a priority for Lucasfilm and Disney, given the other shows and movies coming out. Nothing new. But we do have something rather interesting concerning Qui-Gon Jinn's Force Ghost. Sam Witwer, veteran of Lucasfilm, knows more about the franchise than most, voiced the likes of Maul, the Sun, was Starkiller in the Force Unleashed games, has cleared up some confusion concerning Qui-Gon's Force Ghost appearance. He's provided a fresh perspective, because up until that point, the assumption was that Qui-Gon didn't learn how to become a full Force Ghost, just a voice, His training to learn how to do this was incomplete, and this was due to his untimely death in the Phantom Menace. But now Sam Witwer explains why from a certain point of view, it's not a retcon. He mentions how it's a two-way street. The perceiver of the Force ghost, in this case Obi-Wan, in the case of the original trilogy it was Luke to Kenobi's Force ghost, is just as important, because their connection to the Force determines the strength of the apparition they see. And in his own words, he said this is why in A New Hope, Luke only hears Obi-Wan's ghost. In episode 5, as he is trying to strengthen his connection to the Force, he sees a glimmer of him on Hoth, and then later in The Empire Strikes Back after some training from Yoda, he sees him a bit more clearly on Dagobah. But then by the time of Return of the Jedi, the two can practically have a cup of tea, as he says. It's certainly a consistent point of view with the Kenobi show. Obi-Wan, at the start if you remember, before he is forced to confront Reva and help Leia, he's very much cut himself off from the Force. He was living as an average citizen on Tatooine, so he wasn't really in tune with who he used to be. And if you remember, he was trying to speak with his old master. He was sat in his cave, calling out to Master Qui-Gon. And so, by the end of the show, after Kenobi is back so to speak, his connection to the Force once again is pretty strong. And so, he sees Qui-Gon. The more connected you are, the more in tune you are with the Force, the more you're gonna see. And so when he tells Qui-Gon, I was thinking you were never gonna show. Qui-Gon says, I was always here, you just couldn't see it. But from a superficial perspective, I feel like they just wanted the fan service moment at the end, getting Liam Neeson back in that role. But that is what Sam Witwer is saying. And so finally, my dear friends, Daisy Ridley once again. This is an exclusive interview with Collider.com. She opens up about Rey's legacy, Star Wars Celebration 2023, and her future in the franchise. She begins by saying how surprised she is when fans are kind to her, and how she feels the fandom has been overwhelmingly positive towards her in person. And on the subject of the next film, she said this, "It's really making me emotional thinking about it. I get to have more adventures. I'm like, where is she now? And how are things gonna go?" That's a long way of saying, it's great. It's gonna be really, really great. And she also specifies she is happy she returned sooner and didn't have to wait decades to return to Star Wars. She says, quote, "Meeting everything with that openness and willingness to try. I'm playing a character I played before, but this time it's going to be trying something new." But that said, my dear friends, let me know your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.